So most people want to make sales, most people want to build their businesses, they want to make their brands bigger. But one thing they forget is that they forget to give their customers that importance they deserve. And when you don't give your customers that importance, then you are headed for a very tragic location. Now, I'll give us this quote from Eric Philip Cowell that says, always remember that everyone with whom you have a relationship has an invisible sign on their forehead that says, make me feel important. Treat them accordingly. I'll take that again. It says, always remember that everyone with whom you have a relationship has an invisible sign on their forehead that says, make me feel important. And as such, you have to treat them accordingly. And most of us forget that, yes, your current customers have a 50% chance of being interested in purchasing a new product and are likely to spend 31% more versus a new prospect. And the mistakes most service providers make is they are so focused on getting a new prospect. Yes, getting new prospects is actually good, but they forget the fact that sometimes you need to work with the old ones you have. Harness a very strong relationship with them. And most times, most of what you need, talking about getting referrals, talking about getting new people into your business, you get it from them. How you treat the old ones matters, because the referrals most of them give is based on how you have treated them. For example, somebody comes to your place and says, okay, I want this, and you've given that person a very good treatment. You would definitely get referrals without stressing yourself. So if you are a service provider out there, understand one thing: the key to making a successful business is treating your customers very, very important. And yes, another way you can try to balance, or just have a wonderful relationship with your customers, is communication. Most people forget, or most people give little or no importance to communication, especially for service providers and then those who are providing the services to. Now, communication comes in various ways. And as a service provider, you need to always ensure that you are in close contact with those persons you are providing services with. Try to get their feedbacks. Yes, you have you've presented a product to them and they have made use of this product. Try to get the feedbacks. What do you think? What are the improvements they feel they should get on these products? What are the pros and cons they got? And what are ways they feel you can make this better? And maybe probably what are the struggles they got while trying to use that particular service or that particular products you offer to them. So one thing you should understand in building healthy relationships and in building strong relationships with customers is that communication is very, very important. Yes, communicating with your clients, communicating with your consumers is very, very important. And yes, this is still Prosumer's Forum on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. And yes, we have been talking of ways to balance relationship between customers and service providers. And yes, talked about value earlier, talked about communicating with your consumers. And yes, another way you can do this is blowing away their expectations. Yes, customers always come to you with a certain expectation, and what they either want two things: we get this done this way, or you as the service provider is creative enough to go beyond their expectations. So one thing you can do to keep more customers, get more referrals to, is to ensure that you are you go beyond what the customer even wants, and that is where your creative ability comes in. Yes, creativity is also an essential part of every service provider. How you are able to just think, how you are able to widen your horizons, and how you are able to give your customers even more than what they want for is also key to this. Yes, do not just try to stay at one particular spot. Try to go higher with whatever service you are providing. Try to make research, try to live with the trends that are available, and try to give your customers even beyond what they have expected. And when you give your customers that wow attitude, when you blow their mind, then trust me, you are on your way to building a very strong relationship with them. And like I mentioned earlier, it's not just about the customers you have currently. There's always a possibility that one customer or one client that you provide a service to has the possibility of giving you like 10 other clients. But it all depends on the kind of service you are providing, how you are providing the service, and how you are able to maintain relationships with them. Most people, or most service providers, even from service providers. When talking about service providers, we are not just talking about those on the large scale. We're also talking about small and enterprises. Yes, that's the beginning of everything. Some people are just focused on making sales. Most people just want to make sales, and after that, you don't see them anymore. Forgetting that for you to continue making sales and for you to continue building relationships with your customers, you need to always be on their mind. Add value to them, make sure you are communicating constantly with them, and make sure you are giving them even more than they have asked for. Make sure you are going way creative. You are making research just to ensure that you give your customers that top notch service they deserve. And believe me, if you do this, then yes, most service providers would always talk about competition. Yes, competition is a characteristics of every business. If you are not having competition, then there's no way you would want to step up your game. But most service providers have been able to excel even in the midst of competitions, because on a daily basis they are always thinking of new ways, yes, to keep up with customers, keep up with clients. They are always thinking of new ways to ensure that they are on the top of their game. Yes. So first, we talked about adding value. Yes, adding value to your service, adding value to whatsoever you are presenting to your customers. It should not just be the same way. Make sure you are doing something new every day. Make sure you are doing something that gives your business this touch, this finesse that your customers would not get anywhere. And we also talked about communication. And communication comes in various ways. Sometimes listening is also a form of communication. Are you getting feedbacks from your clients? Are you getting feedbacks from the people you are providing services to? And if you are getting feedbacks, are you giving the proper reaction or proper attention to this feedback or the grievances that has been heard by your consumers? Yes, communication is a very, very key factor. And another factor is you going way beyond what the customer is even asking you for. You going creative to give them this wow impression. Yes, and when you do that, believe me, even though competition would still be there, you would stand tall in the face of competition. And yes, another way you can build strong relationships with your consumers, and also get both parties get the best out of that relationship, is by being consistent in whatsoever you are doing. Yes, consistency is key. And I would always, like I mentioned earlier, we are not just talking about service providers that have like that are big names or big brands. We are also talking about those that are big, just starting. Yes, how consistent are you in this? Yes, first of all, we talked about adding value. We talked about communication. We talked about you giving your consumers that wow impression when they ask for a service, and you are so creative enough to give them even more than what they have asked for. But the question is, most people would have said, okay, yes, I have done this, I have done this, I have done this, but how consistent are you in doing this? The fact still remains that sometimes we try, and we don't get instant results by trying immediately. There are some results that comes like months or years, even after. Sometimes you've even forgotten that you did this, and then you just see the results coming up. And that is the power of consistency. And consistency applies everywhere. It applies in academics, applies everywhere, including in business. Consistency is very, very necessary. For some of these factors that we have mentioned, you need consistency to pull them off. You need consistency to achieve them. You need consistency to build that relationships with your clients or with the consumers you are dealing with. Because when we talk about consumers, we are talking about different people, beyond the gender, beyond the demography. We are talking of people with different psychology, and most of them react to whatever you are presenting to them in different ways. The reaction you get from Mr. A may not be the same with the reaction you get from Mr. B. There are some people that, okay, you show all of these means, you try to do all of these things, and you just get instant results. There are still some customers that you need to take it slow with them. So you need to be consistent with whatsoever you are doing. You need to be very, very consistent. If you say you are going to deliver, try to deliver on time. If you say you are going to work with a schedule, try to do it. Just be very, very consistent. Consistency is a very, very key factor that cannot be overemphasized. You need consistency. Everybody needs consistency, and your business too needs consistency. Yes, another way you can build good relationships with your customers, and both parties would get the most out of it, is by establishing trust. Yes, trust is a factor that is needed in every relationship, and that includes consumer and service provider relationship. And like the other factor we talked about, consistency. Now, sometimes trust is not something you get instantly. Yes, trust is not something that happens instantly. The actions you are giving, the way you provide your service, and sometimes you do not know who is observing. And building trust is about being honest and open. Be honest with your clients, be honest with the people you are providing services to. Try to be as truthful as you can. Try to make them know what is happening. Try to make them know what is up. Try to think of the best way you can serve them, and try to also hear from their own side, because in most cases, a consumer would be appreciative if you try to get feedback from them, if you try to know what they are thinking, and if you try to know what they think you should do. So trust is a very key factor in building consumer and service provider relationship, and that is something that should also be worked on. So value, communication, um, giving your consumers or giving your yes, giving your clients even more than they ask for, that giving them that wow impression, and also building trust too. Yes, another way to sustain these relationships, because it's not just about obtaining the relationships, it's also about sustaining them, is by rewarding them. Yes, appreciating them, appreciate their loyalty, appreciate their patronage, appreciate them for always sticking by you. And when we talk about appreciation, it doesn't have to be something huge. Sometimes a little thank you, sometimes a smile, sometimes free gifts, sometimes sample ways you can appreciate your customers. You can also give them things like discounts, give them special deals, or give them early access to new items. Yes, once outsiders hear that this is exactly what you are doing, then believe me, there would be a rush. Try to appreciate your clients, try to appreciate your customers, try to appreciate them for everything. Yes, and like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't have to be something big. Sometimes you might have a customer coming, and okay, something even as little as a pen. Yes, even as little as a pen, it's a big form of appreciation for most people. And you just give them, and you give them with a smile, and it's coming from your heart. Yes, with that gratitude that yes, you really appreciate them. It's also going to go a very long way in building the relationships you have with them. And it's, trust me, it's also a marketing strategy you can use to get other people into your business, because we are in a world where people actually like being appreciated. Everybody likes being complimented. Everybody likes when you tell them, yes, thank you. When you tell them, I'm grateful you did this. When you tell them, thank you. So try as much as you can to appreciate the people you are dealing with. Try as much as you can to show them you care, genuine care. Try as much as you can to always try understand what is happening with them and give them the best of service. Yes, still Prosumer Forum on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. We are talking about consumer and service providers relationships, and how you can maintain this, how you can balance this. And yes, another way you can do this is by giving quality service. Yes, by giving quality service. And yes, quality is important. Quality is important. Make sure you are providing the best. Make sure you are doing this with your whole. Make sure you are giving your best. If even though it's something as little as let's say you are a service provider, and okay, let's say you are a laundry man, for example, make sure you are giving your best. Quality service is very, very important, and it's going to earn you quick referrals too. Let's say, for example, you are a laundry person, and you wash, okay, and then you iron, and then I put this on, and someone tells me, oh, you're looking good, and your clothes, your dress is looking extremely clean. Believe me, I'll say, oh, thank you so much, and I would just attribute it to the fact that, wow, this is the person who did this. And then you've gotten referrals already. So whatever you are doing, make sure you are giving quality service. quality is very, very important. Give your clients quality service. And yes, still talking about ways of building relationships between consumers and service providers. Yes, another way of doing this is by genuinely caring. Yes, I know I mentioned this earlier, but we are still going to talk about this more. The essence of businesses is mostly profit oriented. And by profit oriented, you want to make sales. And for you to make sales, you need people, and not just people, you need people that will do more referrals for you. And one thing that is important is people tend to get close and tend to believe and associate more with those who show interest in their lives, more than you just coming direct and then saying it, this is what I want, this is what I offer, this is that. And that is why if you are a marketing person, you understand that before you start any kind of marketing strategy, you don't just come up to a person and then you bring the product or whatever service you are rendering and then you tell the person, this is exactly what I'm rendering. Sometimes it's a little good to start a conversation and you just ask the person little things about the person's life. Just try to get to know this person, try to understand this person, try to understand what that person is passing through at that particular moment. And then you can softly bring the entire talks of, this is what I provide, this is the service I render, instead of just going directly. If you are a service provider, it is very, very good for you to show genuine care. And then sometimes you see some service provider, yes, they do a lot of email, they do a lot of appreciation. Sometimes you could send birthday messages. That's a form of caring. And sometimes you could, social media is also a very huge platform. Connect with them via social media platforms. Show them you genuinely care. Celebrate them on your platforms. Yes, celebrate them. People love to be celebrated. All of these are ways that you can use as a service provider to show your customers that you care about them. Yes, this is still Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, and it is Prosumer's Forum. And we are talking about how to maintain balanced customer relationships with service providers. And we've mentioned a few tips. And yes, it is a program where we would also get the views of those listening. So feel free to call in. Yes, phone lines will be open soon. Feel free to call in on 081-8889-1011. Yes, tell us tips that you have used, tips that has been successful for you, and okay, the feedback you got at the end of the day. You're still listening to Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, and it is Prosumer's Forum, talking about how to maintain balanced customer relationships with service providers. Yes, customers are key. You are not, you can't exist without them. The essence for your existence is because there's someone there who is willing to patronize you, who is willing to purchase whatsoever you are selling, who is willing to ask for your services. And yes, still talking of more ways you can maintain this relationship. Another way is our attitudes as service providers. Our attitudes as service providers. Now, attitude is 100% of everything. Attitude is 100% of everything. What are the impressions you are giving to your customers? What are the impressions you are giving to your clients? Are you patient enough to deal with them? Like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of we deal with a lot of service providers deal with a lot of people, different gender. You're dealing with children, you're dealing with adults, you have different targets audience you are dealing with, and your attitude is everything. You need a positive attitude. You need to be patient. You need to be understanding. You need to take it sometimes slowly, one step at a time. Sometimes you just need to study, you need to observe, you need to know the kind of people you are dealing with, so you are able to portray an attitude that speaks positivity, that speaks optimism, that speaks that yes, you are not just here for you're not just here for the money, but you care about the people you are providing the service to, and then your service is the best service they can ever get. Yes, this is still Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, and it has been the Prosumer's Forum on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. Yes, still we will take calls 081-88-89-1011. Yes, feel free, call in your name, your location, and yes, make your contributions, and yes, just tell us what you think. All right, so yes, still talking about maintaining customer relationships with service providers. And yes, we had mentioned various ways this can happen, such as communication. Yes, communication is very, very essential. Learn to communicate with your clients, learn to communicate with your customers, learn to get their feedbacks, learn to know what they think about the service you are rendering, learn to know what they feel you should improve on, and do not just hear, do not just listen, and do not just say yes, but for the necessary actions you need to take and for the implementations you need to take at the end of the day, it is necessary for you as a service provider to do this. And another way is adding value. Yes, continuous value is necessary for every service provider, for every business. Then to add value to your products, learn to add value to your service, learn to, I mentioned earlier, widening our horizons, and learn to work with the trends that are available, because every day there's always a new trend, and for you to keep up you need to understand what these trends are, how they apply to your business, and then you knowing how it is going to help your business is is most important. Value is very, very important. What value are you giving? What would make your clients, what will make your customers prefer your service to others, even though there are different options they can choose from? What is that value you attach to whatsoever it is you are giving out to society as a service provider? And yes, still talked about giving even more. Yes, giving even more than your clients, your customers have asked for, giving even more than they have told you. Yes, and the way you can do this is by being creative, being observing what you feel this person would want, observing, and yes, just adding it. And believe me, when you give customers even more than what they have asked for, when you make a customer happy, there's always a tendency that referrals will come. And definitely referrals are is what every business owner would say he or she wants, because that means more sales to your business. So learn to give your customers, learn to give your clients even more than what they ask for. Yes, we also talked about being consistent and in your interactions and with whatever you are doing. Customers value consistency. It's just like you coming or you, let's say, you clicking on a video and then it gets your impression immediately, and then you continue watching that video simply because it has gotten your impression immediately. So let's take it from these aspects. If you as a service provider should I use the word, one day on and one day off, customers they would forget you. So always try to be consistent. Always try to show up. Always try to ensure that you are doing everything possible to ensure that your business is always at the mind of your customers, because competition is very high in the market. And once you don't add consistency to whatsoever you are doing, then there is always a tendency that your customers would leave yours and then go to another. And I'm sure you do not want that to happen. So learn to be consistent in dealing with customers. And for most of these tips in maintaining relationships with customers, it doesn't happen one day. It's not something that you just say and it happens immediately. You need to work towards it, and for you to work towards it, you need to be very, very consistent. If the best way you feel you want to connect with your customers is through phone calls, try to call as consistent as you can. If it's through emails, try to send emails as often as you can. If it is through social media, try to charge them up as often as you can. If it's by sending videos or just showing them or just making them know what you have available, try to be consistent with that, because most times it's not about getting what you want immediately. It's about building a foundation that makes you get that easily later. So try to be very, very consistent. And yes, I also talked about making sure you are giving quality. Yes, quality is very, very important, and consumers and clients would not trade that for anything. So if you are a service provider, make sure you are giving quality. Try as much as you can to give quality service to your clients, to your customers. Because I mentioned earlier, and I give an example, that it's not just about that one person you are providing the service to. It's about the thousands, the hundreds, the millions of others that would see that person, see that service you have provided, and then ask the person, where did you get this service from? And then the person mentions your business, mentions your name. You know how big that is for you. So whatever you do, try to give quality. Try to give quality service to the people you are rendering your services to. He has also mentioned rewarding and appreciating your customers. Yes, rewarding and appreciating your customers. And these rewards sometimes it's just little efforts, little things that you do. I mentioned that it doesn't have to be a big act. It doesn't have to be a big act. The little things that you do, the little gifts that you could get sometimes means a lot to them. And I mentioned earlier that sometimes it could be a pen, sometimes it could be free samples, sometimes it could be discounts, offering them special deals, letting them know when new items come early, giving them access to new items on time. And when others see this, see it as a way, see it as a way of you also getting more people. Yes, because as human beings, we love to be appreciated. And the more you appreciate your consumers, the more you build a very strong relationship with them. So learn to add that, yes, to your list. Try to appreciate your consumers, not even consumers alone. Everybody wants appreciation. So learn to appreciate them, learn to thank them, and learn to reward them for their loyalty. Yes, that loyalty that they give to you, that loyalty that they have vowed to you, vowed to the service you have been providing for them. Learn to reward them for that. Learn to appreciate them for that. Yes, still Prosumer's Forum on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. And another way we talked about handling or maintaining relationships with consumers and service providers is by showing them that you genuinely care about them. Yes, I mentioned that the main sole aim, first of all, of businesses operating is to make profits. But you don't have to rub that in the face of your customers. If they know, yes, you want definitely, you want them to purchase this, you want them to get this, and at the end of the day, you get your profit, they get their service, and everybody is happy. But it doesn't have to be something you pronounce. Yes, show them you care, be empathetic, show empathy towards them, value their opinions. Make them understand that you care about them. Make them understand that, yes, you want them. Make them understand that beyond the business, beyond them purchasing or them asking or you rendering services to them, you care about what goes on in their lives. Try to connect with them. Try to understand them and try to show that you genuinely care for them. Still talking about ways to build that relationship, get the relationship, maintain it, obtain and sustain it. Another way is trust. Yes, establish trust with them, and building trust is about being honest and being open, even when things are not in the best way for you to be honest. Yes, sometimes you find yourself in situations where you you just don't want to admit this is what is happening, but learn to be honest. Consumers would appreciate it when you tell them, okay, this is what is happening, this is why I can't get this product across to you now. This is, instead of building a relationship based on lies that is going to break even before it starts. And even though there are still people that would criticize you for that, learn to be open about what is happening. Learn to be honest, because you are dealing with people. Learn to be honest with your consumers. Learn to be honest as a service provider. Yes, more ways to maintain a relationship is also accepting constructive criticism. That is talking about you as a service provider now. Learn to accept criticisms. Yes, criticisms that constructive criticisms that comes from the your clients, your customers. Learn to accept this. They are in the best position to give you honest feedback about your services. So encourage them to give you feedback, and act on the recommendations they give you, act on the corrections they have made, and act on it, and make sure they see that, yes, this is a kind of person, I'm dealing with a service provider that understands, that wants to listen, and will also want to put into action the corrections and the criticisms I have made. Yes, always bear in mind that the customer is king, and as such, they must be served diligently and consistently as possible. Maintaining a consistent relationship that adds value to them would also ensure their loyalty and a healthy bottom line. Yes, this is what you started. You started this for many reasons, so you need to ensure that you put in your best, yes, as a service provider, to give your customers the best, because if they are not there, then you would not be there too. Yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for always staying tuned to Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. And yes, on this note, I would wrap up the Prosumers Forum for today. My name is Harirat Ismaila, and I am wishing you a very beautiful and wonderful and stress-filled weekend. Okay, at 12 o'clock, the news would be coming your way. Stay tuned.
You are listening to Human Rights Radio, live from a